Sarah Martinez stood in her new kitchen, looking out the window at the perfect street. Every house looked the same. White fences, green grass, and clean sidewalks. She had worked 20 years with the FBI to buy this house. 20 years of missing, dinners, working late nights, and chasing bad guys across the country. Her daughter Emma would be home from college next week. Sarah wanted everything to be perfect. She had grown up poor, moving from apartment to apartment with her mother. She never wanted Emma to feel that way. This house in Willowbrook Estates was her gift to her daughter. A safe place. A beautiful place. A place where Emma could come home and not worry about anything. Sarah walked through the house one more time. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a big backyard. The HOA fees were high, but Sarah thought it was worth it. The Homeowners Association kept everything clean and safe. They had rules about grass height, house colors, and even what kind of cars people could park outside. Sarah liked rules. Rules kept things organized. The moving truck had left yesterday. Boxes were still everywhere, but Sarah felt good. She was finally home. At 42 years old, she had made it. Her FBI badge sat on the kitchen counter next to a welcome basket from the neighbors. The basket had cookies, local business cards, and a thick book of HOA rules. Sarah picked up the rule book. It was over 50 pages long. She flipped through it quickly. No loud music after 10 p.m., no pets over 40 pounds. All visitors must be registered. No parking on the street overnight. No garage sales without permission. The list went on and on. A knock at the door interrupted her reading. Sarah opened it to find a tall man in his 60s with gray hair and a serious face. He wore a polo shirt with the HOA logo on it. "Good morning. I'm Richard Hawthorne, HOA president," he said with a fake smile. "Welcome to Willowbrook Estates." "Thank you," Sarah replied. "I'm Sarah Martinez. Nice to meet you." Richard looked past her into the house. His eyes moved around like he was checking for something. "I see you're still unpacking. That's fine, but please remember that all boxes must be out of sight within 2 weeks of moving in. It's in the rules." Sarah nodded. "Of course, I should have everything done before my daughter comes home from college." "College?" Richard's eyebrows went up. "How old is your daughter?" 19. She goes to Georgetown University. Richard wrote something in a small notebook. "Good school. We like educated families here. Will she be visiting often?" "She lives here when she's not at school," Sarah answered, confused by the question. "I see." Richard wrote more notes. "Well, just remember that all residents and long-term guests must be registered with the HOA office. We run background checks on everyone for security reasons." Sarah felt her FBI training kick in. Something about this man made her uncomfortable. But she was new here and wanted to fit in. "Background checks?" "Oh yes, very thorough. We can't be too careful these days. Crime is everywhere, even in nice neighborhoods like this. We have a volunteer security team that patrols the area. Former police officers, military men, responsible citizens who care about keeping our community safe." Sarah thought about her gun in the bedroom safe. She had permits for everything, but she wondered if she should mention her job. People sometimes acted strange around FBI agents. That sounds good. Safety is important. Exactly. Richard's smile got bigger. "You'll fit right in here, Mrs. Martinez. What kind of work do you do?" Sarah had learned to be careful about this question. "Government work," she said simply. "Federal or state?" "Federal." Richard nodded like he approved. Good. We like people with stable jobs here. Too many young people these days don't understand the value of hard work and following rules." A car drove by slowly. The driver, a woman about Sarah's age, stared at them talking. She didn't wave or smile. "That's Mrs. Peterson," Richard said, following Sarah's eyes. "She's been here 8 years, very dedicated to keeping our standards high. She reports violations to the office right away." "Violations?" "Oh, small things mostly. Trash cans left out too long, grass that needs cutting, unauthorized visitors. We have eyes everywhere in Willowbrook Estates. Nothing gets past us." Sarah felt a chill run down her back. This was starting to sound less like a nice neighborhood and more like a prison. But she had spent too much money and worked too hard. To back out now. Well, I should let you get back to unpacking, Richard said. Remember, any questions about the rules, just call the office. We're here to help. Oh, and one more thing. He pulled out his phone and took a picture of Sarah's house number. For our records, we like to know who lives where. You understand? After Richard left, Sarah closed the door and leaned against it. Something was wrong here, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Maybe she was just being too careful. 20 years in the FBI made her suspicious of everyone. She walked back to the kitchen and called Emma. Hi, Mom. Emma's voice was bright and happy. How's the new house? It's beautiful, sweetheart. You're going to love it. Big room for you, and the neighborhood is very safe. You don't sound excited. Sarah looked out the window again. Mrs. Peterson was still there, parked across the street, watching Sarah's house. I just met the HOA president. He seems very serious about rules. Mom, you love rules. You're the most organized person I know. You're right. I'm probably just tired from moving. When do you get home? Next Friday. I can't wait to see the house. Is my room ready? Almost. I'm painting it your favorite color this weekend. After they hung up, Sarah felt better. Emma was right. She did like rules and organization. Maybe Richard Hawthorne was just very dedicated to keeping the neighborhood nice. That was good, right? But as she unpacked boxes, Sarah kept thinking about the way Richard looked at her house, the way he asked about Emma, the way Mrs. Peterson was still sitting in her car across the street watching. Sarah had spent 20 years learning to trust her instincts. And right now, her instincts were telling her that something was very wrong in Willowbrook Estates. She just didn't know what it was yet. The sun was setting when Mrs. Peterson finally drove away. Sarah made sure all her doors were locked that night. Old habits from the FBI, she told herself. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. Something was coming. She could feel it. Emma Martinez stepped out of her mother's car and looked at the house. It was bigger than she had imagined. White brick, black shutters, and a perfect lawn. Everything looked like a picture from a magazine. Welcome home, baby, Sarah said, carrying Emma's suitcase from Georgetown University. Emma hugged her mother tight. It's beautiful, Mom. You did it. We did it, Sarah corrected. This is for both of us. They walked inside together. Emma ran from room to room like a little kid. Her bedroom was painted light blue with new furniture and a big window overlooking the backyard. I love it, Emma said, spinning around. It's perfect. That first week was wonderful. Emma unpacked her things and helped her mother finish decorating. They cooked dinner together every night and watched movies. Sarah had taken time off work to spend with Emma. It felt like a real vacation, but by the second week, Emma started to notice things. When she walked to the mailbox, conversation stopped. Women pushing strollers would cross the street when they saw her coming. Men working in their yards would stare until she went inside. At first, Emma thought she was imagining it. Then she met Derek Chen. Emma was walking back from the community pool when a golf cart pulled up beside her. A man in his 50s with a serious face and a security uniform stepped out. Excuse me, miss, he said. I'm Derek Chen, community security volunteer. Can I ask what you're doing here? Emma stopped walking. I'm going home. Home? Derek looked at a clipboard. What address? 247. Maple Ridge Drive. Derek wrote something down. I don't have any young people registered at that address. Are you visiting someone? I live there with my mother. Derek's eyes got narrow. Mother's name? Sarah Martinez. ID, please. Emma felt her heart beat faster. Excuse me? I need to see identification. We've had problems with people who don't belong here walking around. Emma reached for her wallet slowly. She gave Derek her driver's license. He studied it for a long time, then wrote more notes. Georgetown University, he read out loud. Expensive school. Your mother pay for that? Is that your business? Derek handed the license back. Everything in Willowbrook Estates is my business, young lady. I suggest you remember that. He got back in his golf cart and drove away. Emma stood on the sidewalk, shaking. She had never been treated like that before. When Sarah came home that night, Emma told her what happened. "He asked for my ID?" Sarah's voice was sharp. "To walk in our own neighborhood. He acted like I was a criminal, Mom." Sarah sat down next to Emma on the couch. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. Some people are just overly careful. Maybe he didn't recognize you yet." "Maybe," Emma said, but she didn't believe it. The next day, Emma decided to walk to the small shopping center outside the neighborhood. She needed coffee and wanted to get out of the house. As she walked past the community center, she saw Derek, Chen talking to Richard Hawthorne and two other men in golf carts. They all stopped talking when they saw her. Emma kept walking, but she could feel them watching her. When she got to the gate, the security guard there asked for her ID too. She showed it, and he let her out, but not before writing down her information. At the coffee shop, Emma sat by the window and thought about what was happening. Her mother had worked so hard to buy this house. Emma didn't want to ruin it by complaining, but something was definitely wrong. When she walked back into Willowbrook Estates an hour later, Derek Chen was waiting at the gate. "Going for a lot of walks lately," he said. "Is that against the rules?" "Not against the rules, just unusual. Most residents here don't walk around so much." Emma looked around the neighborhood. She saw people walking dogs, jogging, and riding bikes. "Lots of people are walking." "Different kind of people," Derek said quietly. Emma felt cold. "What does that mean?" Derek smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "You're a smart girl. Figure it out." That night, Emma started writing in a journal. She wrote down everything Derek had said, the time, the place, and exactly what happened. Her mother had taught her to keep good records. "Evidence is everything," Sarah always said. The third week got worse. Emma was reading by the pool when a woman sat down next to her. "You're the new girl, right?" the woman said. "I'm Janet Wilson." "Hi, I'm Emma. Your mother works for the government?" Emma looked up from her book. "Yes." "What kind of government work?" Emma didn't answer. Her mother had taught her to be careful about that question. "It's just that we like to know our neighbors," Janet continued. "For safety reasons. There are a lot of dangerous people in government work, people who make enemies." "My mother helps catch bad guys," Emma said simply. Janet's eyes got wide. "Police?" "Something like that." Janet stood up quickly. "Well, I hope your mother knows how to keep her work problems away from our neighborhood. We have children here." After Janet left, Emma felt sick. She packed up her things and went home. That evening, she noticed a car parked across the street. The same car had been there the night before. Emma told her mother about Janet Wilson. "She said what?" Sarah's voice was angry. "She thinks your job might bring danger to the neighborhood." Sarah looked out the window at the parked car. "People watch too much TV. They think FBI agents are always in danger." "Are you?" Sarah hugged Emma. "No more than anyone else with a job that matters." But Sarah was worried too. She had noticed things during her phone calls with Emma while she was traveling for work. Emma sounded stressed, less happy than usual. Sarah had thought it was just college stress, but now she understood. The fourth week, everything changed. Emma was walking to the mailbox when Derek Chen's golf cart blocked her path. This time, he wasn't alone. Two other men were with him. "We need to talk," Derek said. "About what?" "About how often you leave the neighborhood. About who you talk to. About what your mother really does for work." Emma felt scared for the first time. "I don't have to talk to you about anything." "Actually, you do," one of the other men said. "HOA rules say residents must cooperate with security volunteers." "I'm going home now," Emma said, trying to walk around the golf cart. Derek got out and stood in front of her. "We're not done talking." Emma pulled out her phone. "Then we can talk with my mother here." "Put the phone away," Derek said, his voice getting angry. Emma dialed her mother's number anyway. It went to voicemail. Sarah was probably in a meeting. "Your mother can't help you right now," Derek said with that same ugly smile. "But don't worry, we'll take good care of you." Emma looked around. People were in their yards, but no one was paying attention. or maybe they were ignoring what was happening on purpose. She put her phone away and faced Derek. "What do you want?" "We want to know why you're really here. We want to know what your mother is planning. And we want you to understand that Willowbrook Estates has ways of dealing with people who don't fit in." Emma's hands were shaking, but she kept her voice steady. "I fit in fine." "Do you?" Derek looked around at the other men. They all laughed. "We'll see about that." That night, Emma wrote everything down in her journal. She also started taking pictures. Pictures of the men who followed her. Pictures of the cars that watched the house. Pictures of Derek Chen and his golf cart. She didn't tell her mother everything. Not yet. Sarah had worked too hard for this house. Emma didn't want to ruin it, but Emma was smart, just like her mother, and she knew something bad was coming. Emma woke up Thursday morning feeling restless. She had been inside the house for 2 days, afraid to go out after the confrontation with Derek Chen and his friends. But she couldn't hide forever. Her mother was flying back from a work trip that evening, and Emma wanted to feel normal again. She decided to go for a run. Exercise always helped her think clearly. Emma put on her Georgetown University t-shirt and running shoes. She grabbed her phone and earbuds, then headed out the front. Towards the morning air felt good on her face. Emma started jogging slowly toward the walking trail that went around the whole neighborhood. The trail was beautiful, with trees on both sides and small bridges over tiny streams. This was one of the reasons her mother had chosen Willowbrook Estates. For the first 10 minutes, everything seemed normal. Emma passed other joggers and dog walkers. A few people waved. She started to relax and enjoy the run. Then she saw the golf carts. 3 of them were parked near the playground at the end of the trail. Derek Chen stood next to one cart talking on a radio. When he saw Emma, he said something into the radio and pointed at her. Emma kept running. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She lived here. She had every right to use the trail. But as she got closer to the playground, Derek stepped into the middle of the path. "Stop right there," he said loudly. Emma slowed down but didn't stop. "Excuse me, I'm trying to run." I said stop. Derek's voice was angry. "We need to talk." We talked already several times. 2 other men got out of the golf carts. Emma recognized them from before. One was tall and thin with gray hair. The other was younger with muscles and a mean face. "You need to show us some identification," the tall man said. Emma stopped running. "Why?" "Because we don't know who you are," Derek said. "We've never seen you before in this neighborhood." "That's not true. You've seen me many times. You know exactly who I am." Derek stepped closer. "Prove it. Show us ID." Emma looked around. Other people were watching now. Some had stopped their morning walks to see what was happening. A few people had their phones out, but Emma couldn't tell if they were helping her or just watching for entertainment. "I live at 1247 Maple Ridge Drive," Emma said clearly. "My mother is Sarah Martinez. We moved here a month ago." "Anyone can memorize an address," the muscular man said. "Show us proof." Emma reached into her running belt and pulled out her driver's license. She handed it to Derek, even though she didn't want to. Derek looked at the license for a long time. He showed it to the other men. They whispered to each other. "Georgetown University," Derek read out loud. "Fancy school for someone living in this neighborhood." "What does that mean?" "It means we're wondering how a family like yours can afford a house here," the tall man said. Emma felt her face get hot. "A family like mine?" "You know what we mean," Derek said. Emma looked around again. More people had gathered, but no one was helping her. She saw Mrs. Peterson from across the street standing by a tree with her phone out. She was recording everything. "I want to go home now," Emma said. "Not yet," Derek said. "We have more questions." "What? Questions?" "Like what your mother really does for work. Like why you go in and out of the neighborhood so much, like what you're planning." Emma stared at him. "Planning? I'm 19 years old. I'm planning to finish college." "Government workers have enemies," the muscular man said. "Bad people who might want to hurt good families in safe neighborhoods like this one." "My mother protects people." She doesn't put anyone in danger. Derek stepped even closer. Emma could smell coffee on his breath. Prove it. Tell us exactly what kind of government work she does. Emma knew she shouldn't answer that question. Her mother had taught her to be careful about sharing information about FBI work. But these men were making her scared and angry. She catches criminals, Emma said. Bad people who break laws. What kind of criminals? The tall man asked. All kinds. Terrorists? Derek asked. Drug dealers? Killers? Emma didn't answer. These questions felt like a trap. See, this is the problem, Derek said to the other men, but loud enough for everyone to hear. She brings danger here. Her mother's work follows her home. What happens when the bad guys find out where she lives? That's not how it works, Emma said. How do you know? Are you an expert on crime and safety? Emma was getting more upset. I know my mother does important work to keep people safe. Not our people, the muscular man said. Not the good families who live here. A woman with a baby stroller had stopped to watch. She nodded when the man said this. Maybe you should find somewhere else to live, Derek said. Somewhere more suitable for your family. Emma felt tears starting in her eyes, but she was too angry to cry. We belong here. We bought our house just like everyone else. Did you, though? Derek asked. Or did the government pay for it? Taxpayer money for special treatment? That's none of your business. Everything in this neighborhood is our business, the tall man said. We keep it safe and clean. We keep out problems. Emma looked around at all the people watching. Some looked uncomfortable, but no one was saying anything to help her. A few people were nodding along with Derek's words. I'm leaving now, Emma said. She tried to walk around Derek. Derek moved to block her path again. We're not finished talking. Yes, we are. Emma's voice was shaking, but she tried to sound strong like her mother. You're being disrespectful, the muscular man said. We're trying to have a civilized conversation about community safety. This isn't civilized, Emma said. This is harassment. Derek's face got red. Harassment? We're volunteers trying to protect our neighborhood from troublemakers. And right now, you look like a troublemaker. I look like a college student going for a run. You look like someone who doesn't belong here, Derek said quietly. The words hit Emma like a punch. She had heard those words before, in different places in different ways, but they always hurt the same. I do belong here, Emma said, louder now. My mother worked 20 years to buy that house. She earned it. I belong here just as much as anyone else. We'll see about that, Derek said. He turned to the other men. I think we need to file a report about this incident. Suspicious behavior, disrespectful attitude, possible security risk. Emma's heart was beating fast. Security risk? For going for a run? For being where you don't belong and refusing to cooperate with legitimate security concerns? Emma pulled out her phone. I'm calling my mother. Derek reached out and grabbed her wrist. Put the phone away. Let go of me, Emma said loudly. Derek squeezed tighter. Put it away now. Emma looked right into Derek's eyes. She saw anger there, and something else. Something that scared her more than the anger. Let go of my arm, Emma said again, even louder. Some of the watching people looked uncomfortable now. A man with a dog started walking toward them. Derek let go of Emma's wrist but didn't step back. Last warning, put the phone away and show some respect. Emma looked at her phone. She had her mother's emergency number programmed in. All she had to do was push one button, but Derek was staring at her, waiting to see what she would do. The other men moved closer. Emma realized this moment would decide everything that happened next. She had to choose, back down and hope they left her alone, or stand up for herself and see what happened. Emma thought about her mother's words. Never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong somewhere you have every right to be. Emma kept her phone in her hand and looked Derek in the eyes. I'm going home now, she said. Move out of my way. Derek's face got even redder. You're making a big mistake, little girl. Emma walked forward. For a second, she thought Derek might actually move. But then the muscular man stepped next to Derek, blocking the path completely. "Big mistake," Derek said again. "But don't worry. We'll make sure you learn your lesson." Emma realized she was in real trouble now, and her mother was on an airplane too far away to help. Emma stood facing Derek Chen and his two friends. Her phone was still in her hand, but they were blocking her path home. The playground behind them had gone quiet. Even the children had stopped playing to watch what was happening. "I need to get past you," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "No," Derek said simply. "Not until we're done talking." Emma looked around. There were at least 15 people watching now. Some had phones out, recording everything, but no one was helping her. "What do you want to talk about?" Emma asked. "We want you to understand something," the tall man said. "This neighborhood has rules, written rules and unwritten rules. You and your mother don't seem to understand either kind. We follow all the HOA rules." Derek laughed, but it wasn't a nice laugh. "The HOA rules are just paper. The real rules are about respect, about knowing your place, about not causing problems for good people." Emma felt her anger growing. "My mother and I are good people." "Are you?" the muscular man asked. "Your mother works for the federal government. That means she works against regular Americans like us. She works for all Americans." "No," Derek said, stepping even closer. "She works for politicians and bureaucrats who want to control honest, hard-working families. People like us who built neighborhoods like this with our own hands." Emma stared at him. "That's not true, isn't it? Federal agents come into communities and tell people what to do. They make rules that hurt normal families. They protect criminals and illegal immigrants while regular citizens suffer. My mother catches criminals. She doesn't protect them." Derek pulled out his phone and showed Emma something on the screen. It was a news article about an FBI raid on a company. 3 months ago, your mother's FBI friends destroyed a family business in Texas, put 47 people out of work. Good, people with families to feed. Emma tried to read the article, but Derek pulled the phone back too quickly. "That business was breaking the law," Emma said. "According to who? According to federal agents who get paid to find problems where none exist?" The crowd around them was getting bigger. Emma heard someone say, "That's right," when Derek spoke. "My mother doesn't destroy innocent businesses," Emma said. "Then what does she do exactly?" the tall man asked. "Tell us her job title. Tell us what cases she works on." Emma knew she couldn't answer those questions. FBI agents and their families were supposed to be careful about sharing details of their work. "I can't discuss my mother's work." Derek smiled and looked at the crowd. "See? Secrets. Government secrets in our neighborhood. How do we know these secrets aren't dangerous?" "They're not dangerous to you." "How do we know that?" the muscular man asked loudly. "How do we know your mother isn't investigating people in this neighborhood? How do we know she's not spying on good families?" Emma's heart started beating faster. These men were twisting everything. "That's ridiculous," she said. "Is it?" Derek asked. "Federal agents lie for a living. They pretend to be normal people while they gather information on their neighbors. Maybe that's why you walk around so much. Maybe you're reporting back to your mother about what you see." Emma looked at the faces in the crowd. Some people looked confused, but others were nodding. They were believing Derek's lies. "I'm not spying on anyone," Emma said. "I'm a college student on spring break." "Prove it," Derek said. "How?" "Show us your school records. Show us your mother's employment history. Show us you're really who you say you are." "I already showed you my driver's license." "Driver's licenses can be fake," the tall man said. "Federal agents are experts at fake identities." Emma felt trapped. Nothing she said would satisfy these men. They had decided she and her mother were dangerous, and they were turning the crowd against them. "I want to go home," Emma said again. "And we want answers," Derek said. He reached into his jacket. Emma saw the movement and felt real fear for the first time. Her mother had taught her to watch people's hands. When someone reached into their jacket during a confrontation, it usually meant trouble. Derek pulled out a small radio and spoke into it. This is Chen. We have a situation at the playground. Send backup. Emma heard crackle of voices responding, but she couldn't understand the words. Backup? Emma asked. More security volunteers, the muscular man explained. We're going to escort you to the HOA office for a formal interview. You can't do that. I haven't done anything wrong. Suspicious behavior. Failure to cooperate with security. Possible false identity. That's enough, Derek said. Emma pulled out her phone again. I'm calling the police. Derek moved fast. He grabbed Emma's wrist and squeezed until she dropped the phone. It hit the ground and slid away. No police, Derek said. This is a community matter. We handle our own problems here. Emma tried to pull her wrist free, but Derek was too strong. Let go of me. Stop resisting, the tall man said loudly. We're trying to help you. Emma looked at the crowd. Help me. He's hurting me. But the people watching didn't move. Some looked uncomfortable, but they stayed back. Derek let go of Emma's wrist and bent down to pick up her phone. He put it in his jacket pocket. You'll get this back after we talk, he said. Emma rubbed her wrist where Derek had grabbed her. She could see red marks from his fingers. Give me my phone back. After the interview. Emma heard the sound of golf carts coming closer. 2 more carts appeared, each carrying 2 men. They all wore the same security volunteer uniforms. Derek waved them over. Gentlemen, we have a situation. This young woman claims to live in Willowbrook Estates, but she's acting suspiciously. She won't answer basic questions about her family's background. One of the new men looked at Emma. What's the problem, miss? The problem is these men won't let me go home, Emma said. They took my phone and they're threatening me. Threatening you? Derek asked. We're trying to keep this neighborhood safe. You're the one being uncooperative. I answered all your questions. No, you didn't, the muscular man said. You refused to tell us what your mother really does for work. You refused to explain why you leave the neighborhood so often. You refused to prove you're really a student. Emma looked around desperately. The crowd was bigger now, maybe 25 people. Children were watching from behind their parents. Everyone had phones out, recording everything. Please, Emma said, to the crowd. Someone call the real police. These men are holding me here against my will. Derek turned to face the crowd. This young woman and her mother moved here a month ago. They claim to be regular people, but they won't answer simple questions about their background. The mother works for the federal government and travels constantly on mysterious business. The daughter walks around the neighborhood at all hours, watching houses, taking notes. Emma stared at him. Taking notes? I've never taken notes. Haven't you? Derek pulled out his own phone and showed it to the crowd. We have witnesses who saw you writing in a notebook while sitting by the pool. We have reports of you photographing houses during your walks. Emma felt cold. She had been writing in her journal, but it was about Derek and his friends harassing her, and she had taken a few pictures with her phone, but only to document the people who were following her. Derek was using her own evidence gathering against her. I was documenting harassment, Emma said. Harassment? Or surveillance? Derek asked. The crowd. How do we know this girl isn't gathering information for her mother's government work? Because that's insane, Emma said, her voice getting louder. Derek reached into his jacket again. This time Emma saw something that made her blood turn cold. The handle of a gun. Derek's hand rested on the weapon, but he didn't pull it out yet. He just wanted Emma to see it, to know he had it. Last chance, Derek said quietly. Come with us to the HOA office voluntarily, or we'll have to use other methods to ensure neighborhood security. Emma looked at the gun, then at Derek's face, then at the crowd of people watching. No one was going to help her. She was completely alone, and Derek Chen had just threatened her with a weapon. Emma knew she was in the most dangerous situation of her life, and her mother was 30,000 feet in the air, unreachable. What's it going to be? Derek asked, his hand still on the gun. Emma tried to think of what her mother would do. What would an FBI agent do in this situation? Stay calm. Document. Everything. Look for escape routes. Don't escalate unless absolutely necessary, but most importantly, survive. Okay, Emma said quietly. I'll come with you. Derek smiled. Smart girl. See everyone? When people cooperate, everything works out fine. But Emma wasn't planning to cooperate for long. She was planning to survive long enough to get help, even if Derek Chen had no idea who he was really dealing with. Emma sat in the back of the golf cart as Derek Chen drove toward the HOA office. The muscular man sat next to her, making sure she couldn't jump out. The other security volunteers followed in their own carts, like a small parade. Emma's mind was racing. She needed to get help, but Derek had her phone. She needed to contact her mother, but Sarah was on an airplane. She needed to call the real police, but no one around here seemed to think that was necessary. The HOA office was a small building near the front gate of Willowbrook Estates. Emma had never been inside before. Derek parked the cart and got out. "Come on," he said to Emma. "Time for our talk." Emma got out slowly. She looked around for escape routes just like her mother had taught her. The front gate was only 50 yards away, but there was a security guard there who worked with Derek. The back of the building faced a busy street, but there was a tall fence. Derek opened the office door and motioned for Emma to go inside. The office was small and cramped, with filing cabinets everywhere and fluorescent lights that hurt her eyes. Richard Hawthorne, the HOA president, was sitting behind a desk. "Ah, Miss Martinez," Richard said without smiling. "Please sit down." Emma sat in a plastic chair facing the desk. Derek and the other men spread out around the room, blocking the door and windows. "Now then," Richard said, opening a thick file folder. "We need to clear up some confusion about you and your mother." Emma didn't say anything. Her mother had taught her that in difficult situations, it was often better to listen than to talk. "We've been doing some research," Richard continued. "Your mother works for the FBI, is that correct?" Emma still didn't answer. "The FBI has been targeting patriotic Americans for years," Derek said from behind her. "They investigate good people, who just want to protect their families and communities. We are not criminals here," Richard added. "We're law-abiding citizens who follow the rules and pay our taxes. But the federal government seems to think we're the enemy." Emma finally spoke. "My mother doesn't investigate innocent people." Richard smiled coldly. "How do you know? Do you read her case files? Do you know what she does when she travels for work? She catches real criminals, terrorists, drug dealers, people who hurt others." "Or so she tells you," Derek said. "But maybe she's really investigating neighborhood watch groups. Maybe she's looking for excuses to shut down HOA security programs." Emma turned to look at Derek. "That's paranoid nonsense." Derek's face got red. Paranoid. The federal government has been attacking local communities for decades. They want to control everything. They want to tell us who can live in our neighborhoods, what rules we can have, how we can protect ourselves. That's not true. Richard leaned forward. "Isn't it? Why do you think your mother chose to live here, in a neighborhood with strong security and community standards?" Emma thought about that question. "Because it's safe and beautiful. Or because she wanted to infiltrate and study us," Derek said. "Learn our methods so the FBI can shut us down." Emma stared at him. "You really believe that?" "I believe the evidence," Richard said. He pulled out a stack of papers. "Your mother's employment record shows she specializes in domestic terrorism cases." "Domestic terrorism, Miss Martinez. That means investigating American citizens." Emma felt a chill. Her mother had mentioned working on domestic terrorism cases, but she had never explained what that meant. "Domestic terrorists are people who bomb buildings and hurt innocent people," Emma said. "Sometimes," Richard agreed. "But the definition keeps expanding. Now it includes anyone who disagrees with federal policies, anyone who questions election results, anyone who organizes to protect their community." Derek stepped closer to Emma's chair. "Anyone like us?" Emma looked around the room. All the men were staring at her with suspicious, angry faces. "You're wrong about my mother," she said quietly. "Are we?" Richard asked. He pulled out another paper. "This is a list of FBI cases from the past 5 years, cases involving investigation of community groups, neighborhood watches, and homeowner associations." Emma couldn't read the paper from where she was sitting, but Richard's voice was convincing. The federal government sees organized communities as a threat, Derek said. They want people to be isolated and dependent on government services. They don't want strong neighborhoods where people take care of themselves. That's why they send agents like your mother, Richard added, to study successful communities and find ways to destroy them. Emma shook her head. My mother isn't trying to destroy anything. She protects people. From what? Derek asked. From communities that keep crime out? From neighborhoods where children are safe? From people who actually care about maintaining standards? Emma didn't know how to answer. These men were twisting everything, but they sounded so sure of themselves. Maybe your mother doesn't tell you the truth about her work, Richard said gently. Maybe she's protecting you from knowing what she really does. Emma thought about all the times her mother had been vague about her cases. All the phone calls Sarah took in another room. All the trips where Sarah couldn't explain exactly where she was going. No, Emma said, but her voice sounded uncertain even to herself. Derek pulled out a chair and sat down facing Emma. Look, we're not the bad guys here. We're just people who worked hard to build something good. We want to protect our families and our community, but the federal government sees that as a threat. Your mother might be a nice person, Richard added, but she works for an agency that wants to control and monitor every aspect of American life. Emma felt confused and scared. Part of her knew these men were wrong, but they sounded so reasonable, and she realized she didn't actually know very much about her mother's specific work. What do you want from me? Emma asked. Information, Derek said simply. We want to know what your mother has told you about Willowbrook Estates. What questions she's asked, what she's planning. She's not planning anything. Then you won't mind telling us about her work, Richard said. Her cases, her travel schedule, her contacts in local law enforcement. Emma stared at him. I can't tell you that. Can't or won't? Derek asked. Both. I don't know most of that stuff, and what I do know is private. Derek stood up and walked to the window. That's disappointing. We were hoping you'd be more cooperative. Cooperative? With what? You're asking me to spy on my own mother. We're asking you to help us protect our community, Richard said. If your mother really is one of the good guys, then she has nothing to hide. Emma's phone started ringing in Derek's jacket pocket. Everyone in the room could hear it. Derek pulled out the phone and looked at the screen. Mom, he read out loud. Should I answer it? Emma's heart jumped. Her mother was calling, but Sarah was supposed to be on an airplane. Give me my phone, Emma said. Not yet, Derek said. He declined the call and put the phone back in his pocket. The phone rang again almost immediately. She's persistent, Richard said. Maybe we should talk to her directly. Derek looked at the caller ID again. Mom was calling for the third time. Answer it, Richard said. Put it on speaker. Derek swiped to answer the call and pressed the speaker button. Emma? Sarah's voice filled the room. Emma, are you there? Emma opened her mouth to speak, but Derek held up a warning finger. Emma? Sarah's voice was getting worried. I just landed and got your message. Are you okay? Emma looked confused. What message? Derek pointed to the phone. There was a voicemail notification Emma hadn't seen. Emma, if you can hear this, I need you to know that I'm on my way home, Sarah continued. My flight landed early. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Richard and Derek looked at each other. Something's wrong, Sarah's voice continued. Your voicemail sounded scared. I'm calling for backup just in case. Emma's eyes went wide. What voicemail? Derek looked at the phone. There was a voicemail from an hour ago that had been sent automatically when Derek declined the first call. Emma, Sarah's voice was sharp now. If someone is preventing you from answering, I need you to know that I'm FBI Operations Commander Sarah Martinez. I have federal resources at my disposal, and I'm tracking this phone right now. The room went completely silent. Emma, if you're in trouble, help is coming, Sarah continued. I repeat, this is FBI Operations Commander Martinez. Help is coming. Derek's hand moved toward his jacket where Emma knew he kept his gun. Hang up, Richard whispered. But Derek was staring at the phone like it was a bomb. Emma, Sarah's voice continued, I need you to respond if you can. If you can't respond, I'm treating this as a federal emergency." Emma realized this was her chance. Maybe her only chance. "Mom!" Emma shouted as loud as she could. "I'm at the HOA office. Derek Chen has a gun. They won't let me leave." Derek lunged forward to end the call, but it was too late. Sarah's voice came through the speaker, and now it was completely different. Cold, professional, and absolutely terrifying. "This is FBI Operations Commander Martinez. I have agents en route to your location. Do not move my daughter. Do not harm my daughter. Federal backup will arrive in approximately 10 minutes. Derek finally managed to hang up the call, but his hand was shaking. Richard was staring at Emma with wide eyes. "FBI Operations Commander?" Emma looked around the room at all the men who had seemed so confident just minutes before. "My mom's not just an FBI agent," Emma said quietly. "She's in charge of things, important things." The HOA office was completely silent for 10 seconds after Derek hung up the phone. All the men were staring at Emma like they had never seen her before. Richard Hawthorne was the first to speak. "Operations Commander?" Emma nodded. "She's not just an FBI agent. She's in charge of major operations. She commands other agents." Derek's face had gone pale. His hand moved away from his jacket where he kept his gun. How important is she?" "Important enough that when she says help is coming, Emma said. Richard stood up quickly and started pacing around the small office. "This is bad. This is very bad." "What's bad?" the muscular man asked. "We didn't do anything." "Wrong." Emma looked at him. "You kidnapped me. You took my phone. You threatened me with a weapon." "We were just asking questions," Derek said, but his voice was shaky. "While holding me against my will," Emma pointed out. "That's kidnapping. And when you showed me your gun, that's assault with a deadly weapon." The tall man who had been quiet until now finally spoke. "Those are federal crimes." "Yes, they are," Emma said. "And when you do federal crimes to the daughter of an FBI operations commander, bad things happen to you." Richard sat back down heavily in his chair. "We need to think about this." "There's nothing to think about," Derek said. "We let her go right now and hope they don't arrest us." "It's too late for that," Emma said. "My mother heard me say you have a gun. She heard me say you won't let me leave. She's already called for backup." As if to prove Emma's point, they all heard the sound of sirens in the distance. Derek looked out the window. "Those sirens are coming this way." "How long did she say?" Richard asked. 10 minutes, Emma said. "But that was 3 minutes ago." The muscular man started moving toward the door. "I'm leaving." "No," Richard said sharply. "If we all run, we look guilty." "We are guilty," the tall man said. "We held a federal agent's daughter against her will." Derek was looking out the window, again. "There are cars coming, multiple cars." Emma felt a mixture of relief and fear. Relief because help was coming. Fear because she didn't know what these desperate men might do next. "We need to make this look like a misunderstanding," Richard said. "Like we were just having a community meeting." Emma shook her head. "Too late. You took my phone. You threatened me. There are witnesses." "What witnesses?" Derek asked. "All the people at the playground who saw you grab my wrist and take my phone. All the people who heard you threaten me. Mrs. Peterson was recording everything." Richard put his head in his hands. "The recordings." The sirens were getting louder. Derek stepped away from the window. "They're not regular police cars," he said. "They're federal vehicles." Emma smiled for the first time in hours. "I told you. My mother has resources." The office door suddenly opened. Everyone turned to look. Sarah Martinez walked in, and Emma had never been happier to see anyone in her life. Sarah was wearing a dark suit, and her FBI badge was clearly visible on her belt. She looked around the room with cold, professional eyes. "Emma," Sarah said without taking her eyes off the men. "Are you hurt?" "No, Mom. I'm okay." "Good." Sarah stepped further into the room. "Gentlemen, I'm FBI Operations Commander Sarah Martinez. Which one of you is Derek Chen?" Derek raised his hand slightly, like he was in school. "Mr. Chen, My daughter tells me you have a firearm. I need you to very slowly remove it from your jacket and place it on the desk." Derek's hands were shaking as he reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small handgun and set it on Richard's desk. "Thank you," Sarah said. "Now everyone please put your hands where I can see them." All the men raised their hands. "Mom," Emma said. Derek took my phone. It's in his jacket pocket. Sarah nodded. "Mr. Chen, please remove the phone from your pocket and hand it to my daughter." Derek fumbled for the phone and held it out to Emma. Emma stood up and took it, then quickly moved to stand next to her mother. "Now then," Sarah said, "I'm going to read you your rights because you're all under arrest for federal civil rights violations." "Civil rights violations?" Richard asked. "When you detain someone against their will because of their race, ethnicity, or family background, that's a federal civil rights violation," Sarah explained. "When you threaten someone with a weapon for the same reasons, that's assault under federal law." The office door opened again, and 3 more FBI agents walked in. Emma recognized Agent Rodriguez, who had been to their house for dinner once. "Commander," Agent Rodriguez said, "we have the building secured." "Thank you," Sarah said. "Please read these gentlemen their rights and transport them for processing." "Wait," Richard said. "This is all a misunderstanding. We were just trying to maintain community security." Sarah looked at him with ice-cold eyes. "Mr. Hawthorne, my daughter was held against her will for over an hour. Her phone was taken from her. She was threatened with a weapon. Multiple witnesses recorded the initial confrontation. This is not a misunderstanding. This is a federal crime." Derek tried one more time. "We didn't know who she was. We thought she might be dangerous." "You thought a 19-year-old college student going for a jog was dangerous?" Sarah asked. "Or did you think she was dangerous because she doesn't look like the other residents of this neighborhood?" Derek didn't answer. Agent Rodriguez stepped forward with handcuffs. "Derek Chen, you're under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping, and federal civil rights violations." As Rodriguez handcuffed Derek, Sarah turned to Emma. "Sweetheart, are you really okay? Did anyone hurt you?" Emma hugged her mother tight. "I'm okay. Scared, but okay." "I'm sorry I wasn't here," Sarah said. "I got your voicemail and knew something was wrong. I called Agent Rodriguez from the plane and had him dispatch units to our neighborhood." "Voicemail?" Emma asked. "I didn't leave you a voicemail." Sarah showed Emma her phone. "It was sent automatically when Derek declined your call. The phone system recorded the background noise and voices. I could hear men threatening you." Emma looked at the phone. She hadn't known that feature existed. "Technology is wonderful," Sarah said, "especially when people are stupid enough to commit federal crimes while phones are recording." Agent Rodriguez finished handcuffing Richard and the other men. "Commander, we're ready to transport." "Good. Make sure they're processed separately. I want individual statements from each of them." As the agents led the men out of the office, Derek looked back at Emma and Sarah. "This isn't over," he said. "There are more of us, people who won't let federal agents destroy our communities." Sarah stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, I suggest you worry less about your community and more about the federal prison sentence you're facing." After the men were gone, Sarah and Emma stood alone in the HOA office. "Mom," Emma said, "there's something I need to tell you. This wasn't the first time. They've been harassing me since I got home from school." Sarah's expression got serious. "Tell me everything." Emma pulled out her journal and showed her mother all the notes she had taken, all the dates and times and witnesses, all the pictures she had taken of Derek and his friends following her. Sarah read through everything carefully. "Emma, this is excellent documentation. This proves a pattern of harassment." "I learned from the best," Emma said. Sarah smiled and hugged her daughter again. "I'm proud of you. You handled a very dangerous situation exactly right." "What happens now?" Sarah looked around the office. "Now we investigate. Derek Chen and his friends just opened a door they can't close. We're going to find out exactly what's been happening in Willowbrook Estates. And we're going to make sure it never happens." Again. Emma felt safe for the first time in weeks. Her mother was here, the FBI was involved, and Derek Chen was in handcuffs. Can we go home now? Emma asked. In a few minutes, Sarah said. First, I need to make some phone calls. This case is going to be much bigger than just Derek Chen. Emma looked out the window and saw more FBI vehicles arriving. Agents were going door to door, interviewing neighbors. How much bigger? Sarah followed Emma's gaze to the agents outside. Emma, I think we just uncovered a federal conspiracy, and it starts right here in our perfect little neighborhood. 3 weeks after Derek Chen's arrest, Sarah Martinez sat in her FBI office reviewing a stack of files that had grown thicker every day. What started as a simple assault case had become one of the largest civil rights investigations her team had ever handled. Agent Rodriguez knocked on her door. Commander, you need to see this. Sarah looked up from the files. What do you have? The financial records from Willowbrook Estates HOA, Rodriguez said, sitting down across from Sarah's desk. It's worse than we thought. Sarah opened the folder Rodriguez handed her. Inside were bank statements, receipts, and financial reports going back 5 years. What am I looking at? Sarah asked. Money disappearing, Rodriguez explained. The HOA collected over $2 million in fees from residents over the past 5 years, but only about half of that money went to actual neighborhood maintenance. Sarah studied the numbers. Where did the rest go? Political donations, payments to private security companies. And here's the interesting part. Regular payments to a group called Citizens for Community Protection. Sarah had never heard of that group. What do they do? On paper, they're a neighborhood watch training organization. But when we dug deeper, we found something else. Rodriguez pulled out another document. They're connected to at least 12 other HOAs across the state, all with similar security volunteer programs, all with similar complaints about harassment. Sarah felt her stomach sink. How similar? 17 families have filed civil rights complaints in the past 2 years, all minority families, all in upscale neighborhoods with strong HOA security programs. All complaints were either ignored by local police or dismissed as misunderstandings. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. This is organized. Gets worse, Rodriguez continued. We found training materials in Derek Chen's house, manuals on how to identify suspicious residents, how to conduct community interviews, how to document security concerns in ways that look legal but create harassment patterns. Sarah turned back to Rodriguez. Who created these materials? Still working on that. But we found email communications between Richard Hawthorne and HOA presidents in other neighborhoods. They were sharing information about families they considered problematic. Sarah sat back down and opened Emma's journal, which had become key evidence in the case. My daughter documented weeks of harassment. If this is happening in other neighborhoods, Agome, Rodriguez confirmed. We interviewed the Peterson family yesterday, the neighbors who were recording everything. Mrs. Peterson admitted she was instructed to monitor and document your family from the day you moved in. Sarah felt angry all over again. Instructed by who? Richard Hawthorne. Apparently, when new families move into Willowbrook Estates, the HOA board decides if they're suitable residents. If not, they assign neighbors to watch them and document anything that could be used to force them out. Sarah stared at the files spread across her desk. This is systematic discrimination disguised as community security. There's more, Rodriguez said. We found Derek Chen's complete background. He was fired from 3 different security jobs for excessive force. The HOA hired him specifically because he was willing to be aggressive when necessary. Sarah shook her head. They knew exactly what they were doing. Agent Martinez, another member of Sarah's team, knocked on the door. Commander, we have the results from the other neighborhoods. Sarah waved him in. What did you find? Same pattern everywhere, Martinez reported. Strong HOA security programs led by people with questionable backgrounds. Financial irregularities. Political connections to local law enforcement that prevented proper investigation of complaints. Sarah opened a map that showed all the connected neighborhoods. How many families affected? At least 47 that we can document. Probably more who were too scared to file complaints. Rodriguez pulled out his phone. Commander, there's something else. We found videos. What kind of videos? Rodriguez showed Sarah his phone screen. Derek Chen and his friends made training. Videos. Teaching other neighborhood volunteers how to handle suspicious residents. Sarah watched the video with growing disgust. Derek was demonstrating intimidation techniques, explaining how to make families feel unwelcome without technically breaking laws. This is evidence of conspiracy, Sarah said. Federal conspiracy to violate civil rights. Gets better, Martinez added. We trace the funding for Citizens for Community Protection. Guess who's been paying their bills? Sarah looked at him expectantly. Councilman Bradley Morrison. He's been using city funds to support HOA security programs that target minority families. Sarah knew that name. Morrison was a local politician who had been vocal about maintaining community standards and protecting property values. So we have a city councilman using taxpayer money to fund systematic harassment, Sarah said. That's federal corruption charges in addition to civil rights violations, Rodriguez confirmed. Sarah's phone rang. It was Emma calling from home where she was supposed to be studying for finals. Hi, sweetheart, Sarah answered. Everything okay? Mom, there are news trucks outside our house, Emma said, and reporters keep knocking on the door. Sarah looked at Rodriguez and Martinez. The story leaked. I'll head over there, Rodriguez said, standing up. Mom, what should I tell them? Emma asked. Don't tell them anything, Sarah said. Agent Rodriguez is coming over. Don't open the door until he gets there. After Sarah hung up, Martinez showed her his phone again. Commander, you should see this. It was a news website with a headline that made Sarah's blood run cold. FBI raids expose neighborhood harassment network. Sarah read the article quickly. Someone had leaked details about the investigation to the press. The story mentioned Emma by name and described the confrontation with Derek Chen. Our family is going to be all over the news, Sarah said. There's already social media support, Martinez said, showing her Twitter posts. People are calling Emma a hero for standing up to the harassment. Sarah felt mixed emotions. Pride in her daughter, but worry about their safety now that their story was public. Rodriguez was already heading for the door. I'll make sure Emma is protected. Sarah called Emma back. Sweetheart, Agent Rodriguez is on his way. Don't talk to any reporters until I get home. Mom, people are already posting about our story online. Some people are saying good things, but others... What others? Others are saying we're troublemakers who are trying to destroy peaceful neighborhoods. Sarah felt her heart sink. Emma, some people won't understand what really happened, but the truth is on our side. When will this be over? Sarah looked at the growing pile of evidence on her desk. It's going to get bigger before it gets smaller, sweetheart. But we're going to see it through. These people hurt you and they hurt other families. They need to face justice. After hanging up with Emma, Sarah turned to Martinez. How long until we can file federal charges? Against Derek Chen and Richard Hawthorne, we have enough right now. Against the bigger conspiracy? Maybe 2 more weeks. Sarah nodded. Then let's do it right. I want charges that stick. I want these people in federal prison. What about Councilman Morrison? Sarah looked at the financial records again. Him, too. When government officials use taxpayer money to fund civil rights violations, they belong in federal prison. Martinez gathered up his files. Commander, there's one more thing. We've been getting calls from other states. Apparently, this Citizens for Community Protection group has chapters everywhere. Sarah felt the scope of the case expanding again. How many states? At least 8 that we know of. This might be a national network. Sarah sat back in her chair. What started with Derek Chen threatening her daughter had uncovered something much larger and more dangerous. Martinez, I want you to contact the Civil Rights Division in Washington. Tell them we need a task force. Yes, ma'am. As Martinez left, Sarah looked out her window toward Willowbrook Estates. Her perfect neighborhood had turned into the center, of a federal investigation that could change how HOAs operate across the country. But first, she needed to get home to Emma. Her daughter had started this fight by refusing to be intimidated. Now Sarah was going to finish it. 6 months later, Sarah Martinez stood in a federal courthouse watching Derek Chen being led away in handcuffs. The judge had just sentenced him to 3 years in federal prison for civil rights violations, assault with a deadly weapon, and conspiracy. Chen would also never be allowed to carry a gun again. Emma sat in the front row behind the prosecutor's table, watching everything with quiet satisfaction. She had testified clearly and powerfully about her experiences in Willowbrook Estates. The jury had believed every word. "How do you feel?" Sarah asked Emma as they walked out of the courthouse. "Like justice was done," Emma said, "but also sad that it took so long for people to listen." Sarah understood what Emma meant. During the 6 months of investigation and trials, they had discovered that complaints about Derek Chen and similar HOA security volunteers had been filed for years. Local police had ignored most of them. City officials had dismissed them as neighbor disputes. It took an FBI operations commander's daughter being threatened for anyone to take the problem seriously. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Sarah and Emma had learned to handle media attention over the past months. Their story had become national news, inspiring other families to come forward with similar experiences. "Commander Martinez," one reporter called out, "what's next for your investigation?" Sarah stopped to answer. "Today's conviction is just the beginning. We've identified similar harassment networks in 12 states. The Civil Rights Division is pursuing federal charges against 43 individuals and 8 elected officials." "What about Councilman Morrison?" another reporter asked. Sarah smiled. "Mr. Morrison pled guilty last week to federal corruption charges. He'll be sentenced next month." Emma stepped forward to the microphones. Over the past months, she had become comfortable speaking about her experience. "I want people to know that this kind of harassment is happening everywhere," Emma said. "HOAs are using security programs to target families who don't look like what they think neighbors should look like. But when you document everything and stand up for yourself, the truth comes out." "What advice do you have for other young people facing similar situations?" a reporter asked. "Write everything down," Emma said immediately. "Take pictures. Record conversations when you can. And don't be afraid to call for help. My mother taught me that evidence and truth are more powerful than fear and hatred." After the reporters left, Sarah and Emma drove home to Willowbrook Estates. The neighborhood looked very different now. Richard Hawthorne was gone, facing federal charges in another state where investigators had found evidence of similar schemes. Derek Chen was in prison. Most of the security volunteers had quit when the FBI investigation began. A new HOA board had been elected, supervised by a federal monitor. The new board included 3 families who had been harassed by the old security program. Mrs. Peterson, who had been recording Emma's confrontation, was now the board secretary. She had become one of Sarah and Emma's strongest supporters. "Commander Martinez," Mrs. Peterson called out as Sarah and Emma got out of their car. "How did the sentencing go?" 3 years federal prison, Sarah called back, plus probation and no more guns. Mrs. Peterson clapped her hands. "Good. That man never should have been allowed to carry a weapon." Sarah waved and walked toward her house. The welcome home banner that Emma's new friends had hung up was still there from the previous week. Inside, Sarah found a package waiting on her kitchen counter. It was from the Civil Rights Division in Washington, D.C. Sarah opened it and found a letter from the Assistant Attorney General, along with a thick report. "What is it, Mom?" Emma asked, looking over Sarah's shoulder. Sarah read the letter out loud. "Dear Commander Martinez, thanks to your family's courage and your thorough investigation, we have identified a national network of over 200 HOA harassment programs operating in 34 states." Emma's eyes got wide. 200? Sarah kept reading. "Your case has become the model for how federal agents should investigate these crimes. We are establishing the Martinez Protocol for documenting and prosecuting civil rights violations in residential communities." Emma sat down heavily. "They're naming it after us?" Sarah read the rest of the letter silently, then looked at Emma. The Department of Justice wants me to lead a new task force. Full-time assignment to investigate HOA discrimination cases across the country. Would you take it? Sarah thought about everything that had happened. Emma's courage during the confrontation. The families who had come forward after their story became public. The evidence they had uncovered of systematic harassment. What do you think? Sarah asked Emma. Emma walked to the window and looked out at their neighborhood. Children were playing in the street. Families of all different backgrounds were working in their yards together. The fear and suspicion that had dominated Willowbrook Estates was gone. I think Derek Chen and his friends picked the wrong family to mess with, Emma said. Sarah laughed. Is that a yes? That's a yes. But I have one condition. What condition? Emma pulled out her phone and showed Sarah a website she had been working on. It was called Document Discrimination and provided resources for families facing HOA harassment. I want to keep working on this, Emma said. I want to help other people learn how to protect themselves the way you taught me. Sarah looked at the website. Emma had created guides for documenting harassment, templates for filing complaints, and a database where families could report problems anonymously. Emma, this is incredible work. I learned from the best, Emma said. Besides, I'm studying criminal justice now. This is good practice. Sarah had been proud when Emma changed her major from business to criminal justice. Emma said she wanted to help protect people the way her mother did. So you'll take the task force job? Emma asked. Sarah nodded. We'll take it. This is bigger than just our neighborhood. There are families all over the country dealing with what we dealt with. They deserve help. Emma hugged her mother. Derek Chen thought he could intimidate us because we were just two women. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Sarah hugged Emma back. You know what the best part is? What? He still doesn't understand. Even in prison, Derek Chen probably thinks he was just trying to protect his neighborhood. He doesn't understand that protecting a neighborhood means protecting all the families in it. That evening, Sarah and Emma sat on their back porch watching the sunset. Tomorrow, Sarah would start her new assignment with the Justice Department. Emma would begin her sophomore year at Georgetown, now studying criminal justice instead of business. Mom, Emma said, do you think things will really change? Sarah thought about all the families who had contacted them after their story became public. Families who had been too scared to speak up before but were now filing formal complaints. HOA boards across the country that were reviewing their security policies. Local police departments that were getting federal training on civil rights, laws. Change is slow, Sarah said. But yes, I think things will change. We proved that when people stand up to bullies and document everything carefully, the truth wins. Emma smiled and pulled out her journal, the same one she had used to document Derek Chen's harassment. Now it was evidence in a federal case that had changed laws across the country. I kept writing in this every day during the trial, Emma said, flipping through the pages. All the families who came forward, all the HOA boards that changed their policies, all the politicians who got arrested. Sarah looked at the journal. That little notebook started a revolution. A quiet revolution, Emma corrected. The best kind. As they sat together watching the neighborhood where their fight had begun, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Agent Rodriguez. Martinez just called, Sarah read out loud. Another HOA case in Oregon. Family being harassed. They saw our story on the news and want federal help. Emma looked at her mother. When do we leave? Sarah raised an eyebrow. We? Mom, I'm part of this team now. That family in Oregon needs to know they're not alone. They need to see that a college student and her FBI mom can beat the bullies. Sarah smiled and put her arm around Emma. Okay, partner, but you're doing homework on the plane. Emma laughed. Deal. But Derek Chen should have known better than to threaten the daughter of an FBI operations commander. Actually, Sarah said, looking around their peaceful neighborhood, Derek Chen did us all a favor. He thought he was protecting his community by keeping out people who didn't belong. Instead, he helped us create a community where everyone actually does belong. Emma closed her journal and stood up. "Come on, Mom. We have work to do." As they walked inside to plan their trip to Oregon, Sarah realized that what started as the worst day of Emma's life had become the beginning of their most important work together. Derek Chen had pulled a gun on the wrong daughter, and now families across America were safer because of his mistake. The perfect neighborhood had become perfect for a very different reason than Richard Hawthorne had ever imagined. It was perfect because it was just, fair, and safe for everyone who lived there, and that was the kind of perfect that lasted forever.